there's an analogy I use, which is success is the destination. The marketing is the car that you're going to build. And some people build a really, really nice car, and other people are maybe driving a Pinto. But the issue is that they don't fill the car with enough gas to get to where they want to go. And that's the marketing budget. And so many times we put a quarter tank of gas in the car, and we expect to get, to success. And we end up making it down the street or not even out of our driveway, and we're disappointed we didn't get to the success endpoint. It's because we didn't put enough fuel in to actually get us there.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast, bringing clarity to business, entrepreneurship, and life. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me again to learn and to grow. Today's episode is an interview with Kevin Wilhelm, who is a co-founder of Marketing4ECPs, which is a company that really helps eye care professionals build their presence online, whether it's through building beautiful websites, getting traction on social media, or developing ad strategies through different platforms online. And Kevin talked about how 4ECPs has started over the last 4 or 5 years, how they've grown. But more importantly, he shares all sorts of amazing insights through the experience working within this company, developing this company, and helping professionals grow their presence. He shares all sorts of experiences and insights on how we as healthcare professionals, but even if you're a professional in another arena, how you can build your presence and grow, and really actionable advice that's really helpful right now. So I hope you find this valuable. Here it is again, the episode with Kevin Wilhelm from Marketing4ECPs. If you love it, please share it, take a screenshot, post it up on your Instagram story. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care, guys. I'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on the 2020 podcast. I've been excited to have either you or Trudy on for a while now, so I'm glad that we're finally able to make this work. So 4ECPs is a name that I've personally seen grow up over the years, attending different conferences and just looking at things online. And it's really exciting to see how prominent you've become and almost a household name in many ways. A lot of the ODs that I keep in touch with are very familiar with what you do. And so it's been really cool to see that grow. Can you tell me when this all started, where you guys started from, where you're at now, and where you hope to be, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Yeah, great. So the company actually started, so we are about 5 years old, kind of 4.5 right now. And the story starts kind of a year and a half before that. I started my own digital agency that really focused on specific vertical niche. We were in home services to start, kind of the plumbing, roofing, HVAC, very competitive market. And I was introduced to Trudy at a lunch, and we sort of hit it off. And she said, what you're building in home services could really benefit the eye care industry. There just isn't something at this sort of level that she had seen. And at the time she was working for I Recommend as the vice president of trading and events and then marketing as well. And so she was looking for something for I Recommend specifically. And after speaking with her, sometimes you just meet some of those people that you just want to be in business with. And I kind of made a deal with her that I'll go into eye care if you join me on this ride. And so she did. She kind of took a step back from her role and joined us. And we together created a program that really worked for eye care businesses, mostly independent optometry, but we are working with ophthalmologists and opticians as well. And the idea was put together a high-performing, high-touch point, fairly strategic marketing program that was primarily digital and gave the eye care businesses everything they needed, from brand strategy to a website to a social media presence, through lead generation through Google and SEO, to branding through digital display and YouTube and all of that. And so we kind of launched that 4.5 years ago. It went over really well. It primarily was in Canada because both Trudy and I live in Canada, and her network was primarily Canadian eye care businesses. Probably 2.5 years ago, we decided to focus as well on the United States and grew that way. And, to your comment of you've kind of seen us at conferences, that's sort of been our strategy moving forward is educate and really kind of pull back the curtain of digital marketing so people feel confident and comfortable with investing in something that to many is just unknown. And so we figured, let's go to conferences, let's do a lot of speaking. And so we've put on our own events, and we've done a lot of live training and some consultation with supplier partners and industries. And that's really just helped us get kind of our name out there. And yeah, honestly loving every minute of it. Mm-hmm. And the opportunity for eye care businesses continues to grow as more and more people just spend more and more time online. And I think that the opportunity for them to capitalize and leverage it is right in front of pretty much everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who knows me, I'm talking about that all the time, maybe in a slightly different context, but it's the same discussion. I talk a lot about branding and personal branding and using putting your brand out there on different platforms. That's essentially what you guys are doing is you really, and you said high quality, and I've seen the work you guys do, and wow, it is really, really great stuff. And
thank you.
And I love that that's kind of in you mentioned it on your website as well, and I hear that in the discussions that I've had with Trudy as well. Like it's not like, hey, let's just quickly put a website together for you. This stuff is like high quality stuff, and it's stuff that I would normally have looked at very high quality professional websites in the past and be like, man, I wish I could have a website like that one day. And so it's really cool to see that that's available to anybody in the eye care industry now. So where do you think, don't be afraid to boast a little if you want, but where do you think you're going and where do you expect to be?
Great question. So we made a strategic shift about a year ago. Up into our first 4 years in business, we were a all-inclusive take it or leave it program. And for those that have ever had us do a proposal for you, or the ones that are working with us, know that our package across the board was $2,500 a month. We included everything. And the shift that we decided a year ago was that there was a lot of business owners that we just weren't working with. And either they just their business wasn't the right size, or they didn't have the free cash to invest in marketing, because it's our investment plus advertising costs. So typically we're asking businesses to spend kind of that $50,000 to $60,000 a year market advertising, into some that are spending maybe a couple $100 a month. It was such a big, request that there were some very innovative business people and just startups as well that we weren't working with. And so we decided to make a shift a year ago and rolled out a new model, and it's a membership-based model. And the way it works is we've created a low entry point, like a monthly price, and we've added in all these perks that you sort of get. So we offer definitely the website. So it's the same website that we've always built, but now we added in a video library and a social media app, and we have an annual marketing plan that comes in. And we add in sort of tracking of where does your website rank every month and versus your competitors. And so all of this is, we've kind of relaunched at $500 a month. And when we made that shift, it was, I guess the market responded, because we saw, we actually doubled, if not more, the number of practices we worked with in the second half of last year. So it took us 4.5 years to kind of grow our business. And then in 6 months, sort of doubled the customers we're working with that move. And it sort of told us it was the right shift. And, what's interesting in the timing of this is we're recording this in the middle of the COVID crisis. And some of the feedback we're getting as well, we're looking at the market and what's happening with eye care businesses and how can we support them even a step further. And so we've actually taken some introspective kind of viewpoints in our business and saying, how can we create something that further supports the market? And so we actually are right now launching we call it an essential membership for $250 a month, as a way for those that have just been hit hard and they know they need a new website. They know they need a stronger presence online. We have these things. And so it's kind of that true entry level price point that allows them to just really bolster their presence online. And so we're going to be rolling that out at the end of April here. So where do we see ourselves in 5 years? Honestly, we see ourselves as a way to continue to be a premier. We want our websites to be that custom look and feel. We'll never change that. It's you work with a designer, you work with a copywriter to create a website that tells your story, that looks and feels just so unique to you, but continue to look at ways that we can add value, that when somebody invests in that, they're getting other things that we can do, like videos and social media and strategy and all these things. So our team's hard at work at enhancing our membership value so that as more and more practices invest in it, they're receiving more every month. And I think that shift in our business will allow us to work and just support more practices across North America and just help lift the industry as a whole. Because like I've said at the beginning, the opportunity is very large for independent eye care businesses to capture the market. I believe that patients want the personal touch and feel of the independent. And so we just have to allow them a platform to share that story so that when a patient is deciding between who to deal with, they're hearing the independent side of the story as well. And so they can choose that. And I do believe that's the preference.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, everybody's online and more people are going to keep going to find resources or providers or whatever online. So it's only obvious for us as eye care providers to be online and have a presence, but then to compete against the big companies who have massive marketing budgets to put together fancy looking websites, that's hard for an independent to do. So I guess that's where you guys come in, and this new entry level price point is incredible. I imagine most people will be able to afford that. And there's a lot of value in that. So that's really cool. So I mentioned a little bit already that, I like to talk to eye care providers about branding themselves and try to get online. And I've had the opportunity to do some lectures myself on that topic. And I find, there's a lot of interest. I was actually surprised. I did one earlier this year at the BC Doctors of Optometry conference. You're familiar with that. I was actually pleasantly surprised with how many people filled the room. I was like, wow, I didn't think this many people cared about this topic. But clearly they do. But no matter, how many people are there and no matter how much interest there is, without a doubt, without fail, just a few minutes into the conversation, people's eyes start to glaze over a little bit because I start talking a little bit about different things that you can do, the different tools on Instagram that we can use, even just going into stories and the little things that we can do to benefit from, doing polls and things on stories. It doesn't take too much for some ECPs to kind of get a little bit, and I asked them later on there, and they're a little bit concerned because it seems like a lot of work for them. So what I wanted to ask you was, what would you suggest is a good place for people to start? Somebody who either, has almost no experience, doesn't even have an account set up for their practice, or maybe they're just started in their early stages of it now.
You're talking about social media specifically?
Social media specifically in this case.
Yeah. So, it can be a lot of work if you don't have a plan. And I think that's probably the best advice I would say is right off the bat, understand what the objective is. Why are we creating social media? I hear a lot of people say, I'm creating social media. They want the ROI right away. They expect to put a few posts up and then people are walking in the door and buying glasses. And it really doesn't work that way. When you think about brand loyalty, consumers are at the same time, they're less loyal. They're trying different things and they're less loyal to just one specific brand. And yet when they believe in a brand and they believe in what it stands for, they become fiercely loyal. And so social media is a way to connect with patients in between appointments. I'd say that's the best way to say this. And there are some people that can absolutely leverage it to get new patients in the door. But I find that, it may be a year or 2 years between appointments. How do you stay relevant and top of mind and provide value? And that's where social media comes in. And so I would say that to start is, take an online course. We have resources on our website and there's a ton of great resources online. Instagram, Facebook, they have their own little tutorials, and just get set up and then think about who is the ideal patient that you wish you could see more of. And that's the other thing. It's okay, I want to stay in touch with that person more and more so that I keep them engaged. I keep them coming back. And then plan out sort of a strategy that says, maybe once, twice, max, I would say 3 times a week, I'm going to create something that makes that person smile. I'm either going to engage them or entertain them or educate them and whatever your personal brand is, and say, I want to see more of Laura or I want to see more of Jerry. And so I'm going to create content that keeps them engaged and thinks about me. And so if you're someone that specializes in dry eye, it could be an opportunity to make it entertaining or educational, or even just do a Q&A, just something just to put out knowledge and to try to reach and talk to those patients in between appointments. And once you start to get going and you see the response and you start seeing people comment and share it and like it, it sort of builds momentum up inside of you that fuels you to go. But it does take some time, because when you start, no one's really following you, no one's really engaging. It takes a while to bring that to the table. So I would say plan out a 3-month strategy, kind of commit to 3 months of creating content and posts, and then just always think about who your ideal patient is and speak directly to them through your social media.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. So kind of going, I think you've already touched on this a little bit, but along the same lines, and maybe we can broaden it, not just social media, but website and everything else. What are a few sort of do's and don'ts for somebody who's starting out right now, trying to build a presence online?
So do for sure is focus on your website. 90% of consumers are going to go online before they make any type of offline decision. So they could be coming on just to look at where you're located, to know if there's free parking or if you do direct billing, right to, I have no idea who I'm going to deal with, and they're going to come on your website, and that's going to be the deciding factor for them. So many people invest a lot of money into their optical, into making it look great, halogen lighting and beautiful flooring and great displays. And then we put a very basic templated website up, and I asked, and I said, why the disconnect? Because we're spending so much money on the brand image and the feel and the emotion of walking in. Why not start where they actually, that's the real first impression, is they're going to go to your website. At least 90% of people that walk in the door are going to be on your website to find something out about you before they come in. That's the time that you can engage with them and precondition them to buy high-end frames, or think about dry eye, or think about vision therapy, or just overall those things that you want to have a conversation with. That's what you want to put on the website, because they're going there to become informed. So number one is for sure think about the patient journey and what are they going to your website to find, and make sure that's representative on your website. And the other one is track everything. I know that tracking digital marketing can be difficult, and just marketing in general, and that's why so many people don't choose to invest in it, because they don't know what works.
Right.
Digital marketing allows you the opportunity to actually track. There's call tracking available. There's Google Analytics, which is a free software. And so you can have a better opportunity to track what works and what doesn't. So I would say those two things. Google advertising is the most profitable way to spend advertising dollars. It's time and time again, we're seeing, we can generate patient appointments for about $15. Well, if they're going to come in and spend $350 to $400, that's really profitable. You can create great brand awareness through digital advertising, banner ads, paid social media, YouTube, so that people that are right now at home, watching TV, they're on their phone, looking at recipes, things to cook tonight. They're going to get hit with a YouTube video about your practice. It builds brand awareness. It says, oh, I've driven by their sign numerous times. That's who the optometrist is. You know what, I should probably make a switch. It's probably time that I should go and get my eyes checked. So there's a lot of things you can do online. In terms of don't, I would say is don't have a short runway when it comes to patients. It does take a while to see when marketing is effective. Don't expect a massive amount of ROI on a very small budget. I think that is the other misconception that we hear a lot. It's, here's $100 and I want to noticeably see the difference on my balance sheet at the end of the month. And you're like, let's say you do get 2 or 3 patients out of that, which is profitable. Are you going to notice 2 or 3 patients at the end of the month on your balance sheet for the $100 investment? Probably not. So, you want to create a plan, and then, there's an analogy I use, which is success is the destination. If you're going on a family vacation this summer, success, the analogy is the destination. Maybe you want to go to, you're in BC, you want to go to Kelowna. It's kind of right between us. But, the marketing is the car that you're going to build. And some people build a really, really nice car, and other people are going to be driving a Pinto. But the issue is that they don't fill the car with enough gas to get to where they want to go. And that's the marketing budget. And so many times we put a quarter tank of gas in the in the car and we expect to get, to success, and we end up making it down the street or not even out of our driveway, and we're disappointed we didn't get to the success endpoint, it's because we didn't put enough fuel in to actually get us there. So I would say don't expect a small thing to do have huge ROI right away.
I like that analogy. That's a really great analogy actually to use. And I'll speak from my personal experience, but I know that I'm confident that this is sort of how a lot of others feel as well. That marketing budget, because the ROI is so difficult to measure, there's a fear of, how we're always afraid of just losing that money and it not going into, like, not being any benefit to us. And so I think a lot of us are very conservative with how much money we want to put out there. And then also there's a little bit of skepticism about it too, in that, like, okay, what are you actually going to do with my money here? And not to say that you, of course, Kevin, but in general has been my kind of concern, and others I've spoken to as well. Obviously we're afraid of it just kind of it going to waste. And I've heard from others in different arenas, and maybe more specifically, I'll tell you, I have friends who put a fair amount of money into PR, for example, and have seen very little come back. And so there's a lot of that kind of feel, like, if I put all this money into it, where is it actually going? What's it going to end? That's what I know you guys are really working on. You use the term yourself about this all being a bit of a black box, and you're trying to open that up for everybody, right? So can you explain, like, how you might, clear up this, so the difficulty with understanding the ROI and where the dollars go and how it comes back? Sure.
So what I'll do is I'll talk about 3 different strategies and how you can earn a strong ROI on all 3. And I love the question, and thanks for, I love having this kind of conversation. So let's talk about a website. A website should do really 2 things, and why you would spend more money on a higher end website than just a kind of like a Wix site that you create for, $100. So number 1 is, if it's built properly, and by that I mean you have individual pages for all the different services, all the brands, all the specialties you have. All of a sudden now your website's being indexed by Google for all these great keywords, all the products, services, and brands that you offer. So now when people are on Google searching for it, your site essentially gets ranked higher for all of these keywords. So now the traffic, the number of people that are coming to your website increases, because now you're showing up for vision therapy in Vancouver, or seniors eye exams in Winnipeg. And so you're just showing up for more keywords. So now you have more people coming to the website. If it is unique to you, it tells your story, and you talk about what makes you different, then your conversion rate goes up, which means that the percentage of people that come to your website, more people are now calling you because they want to do business with you. So just alone, you have more people come to the site, and then a higher percentage of them actually call and book an appointment. That ROI pays for that website almost right away. And then the website, if you kind of look at a graph, over time, you're going to have more and more and more people, booking appointments off your website. It pays for itself right away. So the initial investment of a website should be offset and actually should be generating you high ROI. What we see is within weeks. And so that should cover it. Then we look at something like Google advertising. And we'll use the example of everybody sitting at home right now. They're on their computer, and they go, this is a great time to kind of check some things off my to-do list. And so, we have moms home with kids, and they're like, they're noticing now, because they're the teachers in the homes, that, that maybe their eyes aren't working as well as they should be. I should book them for an eye exam. Well, I know they're not open right now, but they probably will be in the summer. And so, that mom goes on her phone and she types, optometrist near me or eye doctors near me, and Google advertising are the ones that show right at the top. And it doesn't cost anything to the practice unless that mom clicks on that ad and goes to that website. And the way that Google advertising works is that you can draw a circumference around your practice, kind of a 5 kilometer or 3 mile radius, to say that's about how far people are willing to travel. It might be 10 or 15 or whatever, but you would decide how far that radius is around my practice, that driving is not going to be an issue. Mm-hmm. And I only want to show it to them. And then I only want my ad to be triggered when people are looking for my product, services, and brands. And you kind of can put all that stuff in. So now that mom who is only going to see your ad when she's within a close proximity of your practice, and she's searching for the things you offer. And it only costs you money if she clicks your ad and goes to your website. So that's the program where we're generating appointments for like $15. She books the appointment. She has her 2 kids come in. I know how much I spend. My son's vision is changing so rapidly that I think he's going to be a -9 by the time he's 18. And so twice a year, we're basically changing the lenses out, and once a year, new frames. So we're spending a lot of money just on that. And then I have 2 other kids, and my son's also in contact lenses, my wife. So my family alone, that the lifetime value of what we bring to the practice just by one Google search is infinite versus the few dollars it took for the ad to get clicked on. And so that ROI works. And then the third one is, let's talk about the mom who doesn't notice that her son is struggling and needs an eye exam. She's just sitting at home. She's watching YouTube videos, and up pops an ad or a video that says children's eye exams are free under 18.
Yeah.
Maybe she's never even thought of that before. And the ad goes, oh, I should probably do that. And she clicks the ad, gets brought to an optometrist that's within blocks of her house, and she just fills out a form. And now you've re-engaged, or you've brought somebody new into the practice that wasn't searching for you, but you hit them with the right message at the right time. And that ad only costs kind of like pennies on the dollar. Mm-hmm. And so all these different ways are taking advantage of the fact that people are online. They are doing research. You just need to be found and tell your story in a great way to convince them to actually choose you. And so across the board, we see strong ROI for all of the marketing strategies that are kind of implemented. The key is tracking it and having sort of call tracking software on your website, asking people when they come in, where did you hear about us? And also the question is not where did you hear about us, but what made you choose us? Mm. So when you come in and as optometrists and you're seeing new patients for the first time in the chair, a great question is, I'm just curious, why did you choose us? What made you choose us? And they may say, oh, a referral, or I saw you online, or a great online review, but it's those things that are also going to tell you what your unique story is and your value proposition. Because if that's bringing that person in, maybe that needs to be my marketing strategy. I need to tell more people about what brought that person in.
Yeah.
And then that's how you sort of see your ROI go up, is it all sort of works together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a common theme throughout business, and maybe I'm sure other arenas as well, but keeping track of stuff is very, very valuable, because if you don't know what the numbers are, what's working, what's not working, there's no way for you to fix it or hone in on the thing that is working. So that's extremely valuable for sure. So all those things that you mentioned, the YouTube ads, the Google ads, those types of things, those are all things that you handle, or you potentially could manage with your client?
Yeah, basically within our company, we do everything you can think of when it comes to digital advertising. So managing organic social media to creating video content, to putting on YouTube. Not every product is going to work great out of the bats for everybody. That's why we sort of look and say, what does an annual strategy look like? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to bring in more patients? Are you trying to bring in the right patients? Are you trying to grow your market share? Or are you trying to shift sort of optical sales to medical specialty sales? Everybody has different objectives. Mm-hmm. Different mediums help achieve those objectives. So, the first thing we would want to do is sit down and uncover those objectives, and then put together a plan that's unique to that practice to help achieve those goals. And then, you bring in YouTube, you can bring in Facebook, you can bring in Google advertising. There's a lot of different strategies that we have to help achieve those.
Got it. Great. So one thing that I've seen in general, in all these different industries, whether it's retail or whatever, is influencer marketing has like become, like, being an influencer online used to be anyway a big way to get famous and make money. It might still be, but I know it's going through some changes. What are your thoughts on influencer marketing? If you don't mind elaborating a bit on what it is for our audience, and if you see any value in it for ECPs, optometry practices who are trying to get more exposure.
Sure. So Kim Kardashian is probably the greatest influencer on the planet. She'd definitely be in the top 3. Yeah. And the last figure I heard was she used a hair straightener. It's probably hers, but she had used a product straightening her hair. She just kind of made a quick mention of what it was. It wasn't an ad. It was just, I'm using it and here it is. And I believe she was paid $500,000 for that. Now, when you look at the millions and millions and millions of people that follow her and feel like they're part of her life because they're following her along on social media, they see her actually using the product, it resonates with them. And so that's really what influencer marketing is. It's, I'm going to follow a celebrity or somebody online. I identify with them and I'm going to follow what they're doing. And then when they make recommendations, it means more to me because I'm a part of their life. I've been watching this diary of their life, and I believe how they parent. I believe what they wear. I believe the kind of food they eat. And so that's why it's effective. Micro influencers are taking that same idea, but now going down to influencers that have between 10,000 and like 100,000 followers. And so that's where I would say for eye care and optometry and opticians, that's sort of the sweet spot, because no one has the 500,000 to pay Kim Kardashian, but they may have a $500 gift card that they are willing to give to somebody with 20,000 followers to get a pair of Oakley or Ray-Ban or Maui Jim, just for coming into the practice. The way that I've seen it work is they'll take, the contract, they have to have 3 posts. One is them walking into the practice with a sign and saying, hey, I'm getting my eyes checked today. And then, picking out all the selection to show what the inside looks like. And then the final, they're wearing the product and they tag the practice. And so if you have 20,000 followers and they're in that city, because you want to get local influencers, and they're saying, hey, I went to High Street Optometry and they provided me great service, great selection, and I got this amazing pair of frames that I look great in. How many other people now following that influencer goes, I should do that. If she likes it, it's down the street for me. And so I do think influencer marketing can be strong. There's a lot to it. You got to make sure you're aligned with the right influencer. You want them to say the right thing about your brand. However, you don't want to control them, because part of the appeal is letting them create their own story and their own unique brand in their own way. So, it can be powerful, and it doesn't have to be that expensive, but it's a little bit of work reaching out to them and asking if they're willing to come in and having an eye exam and kind of negotiating with them on what they're going to get in return. Got
it. So smaller audiences, so like you're saying micro, and I've heard the term nano influencer as well, being sort of even a slightly smaller.
Yeah, under 10,000, yeah.
Under 10,000, right? But I think more importantly there is that they should be local, and maybe even more important than just the influencer being local, their audience should be somewhat concentrated around your business, right? I think it maybe gets a little tricky because with our practices, we are so dependent on our geographic location. To go broader than that, then let's say you have a practice that's selling products, obviously glasses and contacts and supplements and whatever else it might be. Do you know a lot of practices doing e-commerce? I believe that now, as we're all sort of stuck at home and not able to go in and do retail in the practice, more people are looking into that. Has that been a big thing for you? Are you seeing a big uptick in that?
It's interesting. I've been maybe on the other side of this, just because for the last couple of years, when people ask about e-commerce and we go through it with them and our clients, they realize what's involved on the other side, which is like inventory management. I've got to ship and do all this. There is a fear of having 2 different prices, one online and one in store. And then in order to be competitive, you need a competitive price online to compete with the big retailers, but you don't want to offer that in store. So what I've noticed is that the industry was very slow to adopt e-commerce, other than the e-commerce players. When COVID happened, we did a webinar with Get Sightly, and I believe he said their business doubled in 1 week. Just how many people said, okay, well, I'm closed now, I'm sort of forced to adapt and pivot. So my hat's off to all the optometrists and business owners that decided, I'm not going to take this lying down. I'm going to do something about it and create a way to be able to service my clients through eye drops and contact lenses and frames. So, big kudos to them. I think now consumers are going to be, depending on how long, the isolation and quarantine occurs, the comfortability with ordering these things online is going to increase naturally. And so I do think there's an opportunity. And I think that every eye care business should be looking at, how do I support my clients, my patients online? What do I need to do? There's a lot of options. There's some that do drop shipping. They handle everything logistically for you. You're obviously going to pay more for that. There's others like just even Shopify that allow a transaction to occur, but then it just shows up online and then you have to fulfill the order in your practice. So a lot of different options. We actually filmed a webinar. We have an ebook all about the different e-commerce options. My partner Trudy went and spent hours and got on the phone with every e-commerce provider and just interviewed them and put together this great ebook that kind of talks about all the different ones. Wow. Yeah, so you can download that on our website. So I think that it's great to go and do that. I think that we should. I think that people are realizing now that it may be worth the work, worth the investment of time in order to adapt and be able to service patients as they need to be serviced now moving forward.
Yeah. And this webinar that I just did recently with a few ODs, and that was, a couple of them were pretty strong on that side, is like, this is exposing the flaws, our flaws, right, and our weaknesses, and it's forcing us to adapt. Now, we didn't want to, and our industry traditionally is proven to be a little slow to adapt, right, and even very resistant, in fact, to change sometimes, and now we don't have a choice. It's sort of adapt or die at this point. And so I think for most of us who are willing to now put in the time and effort, will come out better in the future. We'll have to, because people are now, our customers, our clients, our patients are going to say, well, I can just sit at home and do this. I had to during COVID, so why can't I do it after COVID? And we're going to have to be ready for that. So that's kind of where I was coming from with this e-commerce thing. I think it's something that we've been afraid of, and we've looked at it as like kind of the boogeyman for a long time, right? Companies that out here obviously clearly was the boogeyman, has been for many years. And we just looked at it as that's the devil, and we don't want to be that. But now we have to. I think we have to in some form.
Yeah, and if you look at it, I want to be clear, like the competitive advantage independents have is the in-store, in-practice, in-clinic experience.
Yeah.
And so the e-commerce side needs to be purely a way to support the whole journey. Don't replace it, because what you have over clearly is that you have that personal touch, the expertise, the customer service, the selection. I'm trying it on. If it doesn't fit, I'll make sure it fits right. All of that needs to still be the reason you choose me. Yeah. But when they go home with, let's say, contact lenses, and they're deciding, if I'm just a contact lens wearer and I don't want to come into the practice every time, but I want to support local, then give them an option to be able to be on a subscription service or be able to buy online. So they're still supporting your business and you're supporting them with the convenience of having that. And so it's a complement to the business. It should not be in replacement of, because the main reason people choose you is the human element of the profession of the independent, which is why from a marketing standpoint, you don't want to lead with the e-commerce store. You lead with everything that's great about you. And then, oh, by the way, when you're a patient, we have an e-commerce solution to also make your life convenient, which allows you to support us and we support you.
Fantastic. I think that, thank you for clarifying that. I think that's very, very important. I probably get a little heated on that discussion, so I neglect that very, very important first part. Our brick and mortar is a big part of our strength, right? That in-person experience.
It is.
So that's awesome, man. I think there's been some incredible insights and really, really valuable information here for the audience. There's a lot more questions I want to ask you. Hopefully we'll get a second round of doing this together, but I also don't want to overwhelm people with too much in one episode here. Now, there's two questions I ask all my guests at the end of every podcast, so I want to ask you those, and then I'd like for you to kind of share with everyone where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you. But
sure. The
first question that I like to ask is, if you could go back, I know you've had an interesting, your life's been interesting, all the different things that you've done in your life and the things that you've tried to build. But if you can go back, you can share a specific time if you'd like. But if you go back to a specific time in your life where you were struggling, things were a little difficult, what advice would you give to yourself, a young Kevin at that time?
Just have ultimate confidence in yourself. I think that, as an entrepreneur in general, I think you have to, no one's coming, like no one else is coming to save you here. This is sort of on you, and have confidence that, the reason that you started your business, the reason you own your own business and are not just, maybe perhaps working for someone else, what have you, is that you have faith and confidence in yourself. And so continue to have that confidence in yourself and be willing to work harder than everyone else and willing to do what others, aren't. And I think that's where the success comes in, is that, unbridled confidence in your ability and what you bring to the world that's unique, and then just be willing to do what others aren't. And I think that, to me, is the big success factor.
I love that. There's a motivational speaker that I love. His name's Les Brown. I don't know if you're familiar with him at all, but he says that similar to what you just said. Be willing to do the things today that others won't, so you can have the things tomorrow that others can't or won't. So that actually leads into the last question, which is everything that you've accomplished so far, with all the growth and everything that you guys are seeing, how much of that success would you say is due to hard work and how much is due to luck?
Luck is always a part of success, I believe. I think that it's kind of when hard work meets opportunity. I think that's where a lot of success comes in. I'm going to say that if you know my partner, Trudy, you know that hard work has been a huge factor in our success. Kind of when I told you at the beginning, you meet certain people and you just want to be in business with them. I want to be in business with people that can out hustle me, and there's not many, but she's one of them. So hard work is for sure that. However, it's not the only indicator of success. I know so many people that their value is hard work, and sometimes we're just working hard to work hard. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that it's not just luck. It's not just hard work. It's also being strategic. It's making smart decisions. It's seeing the world for kind of what it is and what it could be. And so I think success really comes down to the combination of hard work, surrounding yourself with the right team, the right people, and kind of like what we just said, be willing to do what others won't. I think that's where success comes in.
That's amazing. Thank you. Great answer. And where can everybody find you specifically, or the company in general? Where would you like people to go?
Yeah, so our website is marketing4ECPs.com. So marketing, the number 4, ECPS.com. That's where you can find out more about the company and fill out a demo and learn about our products. For me, LinkedIn is a great place to look for me. So Kevin Wilhelm is where you can search for me, connect with me, ask me a marketing question. I have all the time in the world to help with any marketing questions you have. So send me a note and I'm happy to respond and kind of create that dialogue. So
amazing. Thank you so very much. I really, really appreciate the time, Kevin. I know you guys are crazy busy right now doing all sorts of amazing things, providing resources for ECPs right now during this crazy time. So thanks so much, Kevin.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure speaking with you.